Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Harry Brelsford from SMB Nation, and this is another in our podcast series where we're talking to thought leaders about a variety of topics concerning the SMB MSP space. I'm joined today by Kevin Doyle, and Kevin, welcome. Thank you for joining us to have a conversation. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So for those that don't know Kevin Doyle, where are you located? What is your company name? And if you don't mind, what is your web address, your URL, so maybe people can learn more about you?
Yeah, the name of our company is 3 Points. It's the number 3 Points, POINTS.com. We are a managed service provider located in the Chicagoland area. We service the greater Chicagoland area from all the way up on the north side in Antioch to the south side, and then far into the west suburbs and even in the city. So we're pretty much all over in and around the Chicagoland area.
Okay, great. And forgive me, it's I'm out in Seattle, so if you see me drinking a cup of coffee, that's how we roll. How long have you been with the company? How long has the company been in existence?
The company started in January of 2002, so we've been around for approximately 15 years.
Oh boy, that's a real company. If you kind of had to sum it up, what's your business model? Do you have niches in not-for-profit education, finance and real estate? Maybe you can give us sort of the elevator ride about your business model.
Yeah. I mean, the easiest way to describe us is that we are a full-service outsourced IT department for businesses that have 10 to 100 computers. That's basically our niche. So we know that those folks they don't have enough work for a full-time IT guy, but they certainly have quite a bit of needs, and so that is the marketplace that we serve here. In terms of a vertical market space, I would say that construction is our number one vertical market, followed by manufacturing and professional services. But we do actually have clients across all verticals, so we're not really specific to one, but through some of our partnerships that we have, construction is certainly our number one vertical market here.
Well, and just as an aside, where are you located in Chicago? I know Chicago fairly well. My wife's from Chicago. Are you in the suburbs? Are you in the city?
Yeah, we're in the burbs actually. So it's kind of interesting.
Okay.
My partner lives in the west suburbs, and I live in the south suburbs. So we actually have an office in both of them.
Oh.
Conveniently located near our home, so that we kind of set it up that way. But in the next few months, we're going to be relocating to the west suburbs. We just purchased. We actually are renting a 10,000 square foot facility to house the 40 plus employees that we have in our organization. So we're excited, something that we're excited about.
Yeah. Boy, that is cool. Any particular product stack that you focus on? And I'll tell you why I ask is that the SMB Nation community, it's probably the worst kept secret in the channel. We were created and focused on small business server, that end of life 5 years ago. Do you have product stack focuses? I'm just curious maybe what you favor.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that we really spend a lot of time in currently is the Office 365 platform. Really moving people's email to the cloud has been it's been a tremendous thing. They no longer have to rely on their office, facilities, their power and their bandwidth and all that to make sure that they're getting out to the internet. I mean, literally just being able to relocate your email to Microsoft's data center has been just really it's made a tremendous impact on uptime for our customers. So, in Office 365, there's a lot in there. I mean, there's a lot of things. So what we've tried to do is to kind of start small and then kind of build on that, as we go along. So, to add in things like Skype, Teams, we're starting to look at now, SharePoint, OneDrive, those types of applications. So it's been really, really good, and we've seen a lot of interest from our clients on that front. SharePoint, that's like the one component. I mean, it goes all the way back to early SBI. It just won't die. It just won't go away. It keeps reinventing itself, I'll tell you. Yeah.
One of the things, Kevin, we like to do at SMB Nation is we have a couple of different editorial genres, right? And one of them is startup and start over. And by startup, I mean, a tip of the hat to maybe people just entering the industry. We all did. We all had to start at some point. If let's just pick on a young person. If a young person was interested in forming an Office 365 MSP practice, a consultancy, what might they do today? They're just starting out. They don't have all the legacy of server side. Any secret sauce for a young person?
Certainly you want to get involved in the MSP community. The MSP Alliance is an organization that's out there today that runs events twice a year typically, and so you can collaborate with other MSPs around the country to understand kind of what they're doing. But I think the key, more or less for us, at least getting started, was that we were very open to influence. We knew that, I think a lot of times business owners think that, well, gosh, I have to have all the answers. I have to have all the answers. And so they just, they make a lot of decisions, and maybe, sometimes some are good, some maybe aren't so good. Certainly you're going to make mistakes throughout your career, no doubt about it. But getting outside influence from people that you trust and people that you surround yourself with in business, I think has certainly been the key to our success. Just being open to change, being open to influence, because this business changes constantly. I mean, just before you think you figure it out, it's like, well, okay, what's the next best thing? Kind of thing. So it's a difficult business to stay up with for sure. But yeah, I would make sure that you can get as much information from people surrounding your industry that you can.
Yeah, I agree, and it's nice to hear the name MSP Alliance. I haven't heard it in a while. You hear about HTG, you hear about some other organizations, so nice shout out. Good people. One of the things we like to do in this format is to get to know you a little bit. We're going to get to the good stuff in a minute, so for the listeners, just hang on. But forgive me, Kevin. Tell me about the foundation where you're apparently the founder and director of the is it the Sheila Doyle Foundation?
Correct. Yeah.
What's the story?
Yeah, when I was 17 years old, my mom was murdered. She was followed home by a couple guys that wanted to steal the hood of her car. And as most people know, Chicago is just notorious for homicides. We are, in terms of, we're not, per 100,000 people, we're not the largest in terms of homicides. But if you look at the sheer number of people that die, the sheer number of people that are murdered, we are number one in the country. So anyway, unfortunately that happened to me when I was 17. I woke up one morning, I walked down the stairs, and my dad said, your mom was found shot to death in the trunk of her car in our family's garage. And so as a 17-year-old, you don't really know how to take that. I remember going back to high school and feeling alone. I mean, people were like, hey, there's the kid whose mom was murdered. And, certainly for me, people define you by your loss. And so, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. So it was a highly publicized case on TV and, on the radio and the news and stuff. And, literally what I wanted to do was to start an organization that could give back to kids to make them feel that they weren't alone in their grief journey ever again. And so we started an organization called the Sheila Doyle Foundation in 2009. And we have three different programs. The first one is we run a bereavement camp for kids between the ages of 7 and 17 who lost a parent or sibling to homicide. We run a one-day parent program, which is a program that supports the kids. So if you have a parent left behind or a caregiver or whatever, we have them come and share with each other, and kids and parents can share their story in a safe place with other people who have gone through the same thing. And then last, we also award college scholarships to high school seniors that attend our camp. So to date, we've given out 13 $5,000 college scholarships. They're one-time scholarships.
Boy, my goodness! I appreciate you. I appreciate you taking that on. That's a good human interest story. Sorry for your loss, but it sounds like you're helping out as you're able. Let's back up a little bit. So I couldn't help but notice on your LinkedIn profile, Blair Television. So you started out as a sales assistant. I just love these stories. First of all, that's back when we had TV repair shops. Is that fair? What was that job?
Yeah, basically what Blair Television was, it was my first job out of school. I wasn't there very long, but I came out of having a journalism degree at the University of Iowa. And while I was going through school, I also sold Cutco knives. If you ever heard of Cutco?
Oh boy, you're what? Oh, I'm going to make a note of that. Yep.
The first year I sold Cutco, I was like 30th in the country out of 30,000 college students. It was a tremendous job. It was really something that I think I learned early on that sales was something I was really good at. So, but I couldn't make money being an on-air, journalist person out of school. I had a bunch of loans, and I had to support myself, and I have a car payment and all that. So I ended up moving home and got a job at Blair Television, and it was they basically sold airtime, like commercial spots and that kind of stuff.
Oh, okay.
Different stations across the country. So we repped, probably, like 50 or 60 different, stations throughout the country. So.
Yeah. And I'm just curious, before we move on, I'm just curious, is that where you might be selling $1 haulers at 2 a.m. in the morning on some rural station? I'm kind of making that up, but is that exactly kind of what it was?
Correct. Okay. Yes.
Well, I also see you're a thinking man. You've written a large number of articles, including 8 points about Microsoft compliance. Most small businesses learn too late. Let's talk about that. It looks like you have an undergrad degree in journalism and mass comm. You've published. Let's pick one article. Let's take the 8 points on compliance. What's the abstract on that?
Yeah, and it's funny you're asking me that question. I probably would have to pull up the article because it's been some time
fair enough.
Since I wrote that. But in general, I think that Microsoft has a number of things that they do on their platform that certainly can help to be compliant. One of the things that from a security perspective, one of the things that we've been rolling out recently, which really a lot of people don't know about, which helps with cybersecurity, is what's called two-factor authentication. Two-factor authentication is literally we've had many customers that click on something and all of a sudden there's the cyber criminal is logging, your keys on your computer and, getting your password and then going in through the back door and off the Office 365 website, sending an email to your banker and saying, hey, please transfer X amount of dollars, to this bank account. So to combat that, because that is a very known thing, we've implemented two-factor authentication in the Office 365 platform. One day I remember we just implemented it. My wife was trying to check my calendar, and I kept getting text messages every 2 seconds saying, and I was like, is someone trying to hack into my email? So that is something that has been, extremely helpful, I guess, for the most part. But, they also do e-discovery. There's a bunch of different options that are available within the platform for, compliance, for cybersecurity, all those kinds of things. But that's something that's hot today that I think people know about. The big companies are, asking even our small business customers to do, compliance audits and a number of different, things to be compliant in a number of ways, whether it's with your backups, whether it's how do you back up your data, how do you secure your data, and so that's something that we're starting to kind of dive into more and try to understand what that marketplace is starting to look like, because I think as time goes forward, it's only going to get more.
Well, my compliments. I mean, you're certainly staying relevant. And as you alluded to earlier, it's a fast-changing industry. I'll tell you, there's days I wish I just had an overhead door franchise, and it basically was a fairly static business model. But excuse me, let's move into the good stuff. Okay. In this section, we have the challenge, we have the solution, and we have the results. And so the challenge, here's what I want to ask you. I see in your profile that you were a Microsoft advisor, and prior to becoming a CSP with Sherweb. How was the Microsoft Advisor Program for you? And what were the main challenges you faced at the time, and any specific roadblocks you had moving to the Microsoft CSP program?
Yeah, so I mean, first and foremost, like the advisor program was great. It certainly helped us to get into the Office 365 environment. We didn't charge our clients any more than, because Microsoft was charging them basically.
Yep.
You know, and then we were, you know, getting a commission on that, you know, from Microsoft. So obviously, the more accounts that we brought, the higher the, you know, commission would be, kind of thing. So we didn't really experience any challenges with that. The challenge that we did face was that, you know, one day Microsoft said, you know what, we want to get out of this game. We want to basically get out of the advisor game. We want to, you know, push managed service providers like 3Points into moving to the CSP model, the cloud, you know, service provider model. And so you know, we basically got recommended to go look at one organization. Had a pretty bad experience with that. And I got a white paper.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So I got a white paper one day, you know, it talked about a company called Sherweb. So, you know, I opened it up and I was like, oh, well, this is kind of interesting. So I called, got connected with their central division guy, Anthony, I can't think of his last name right now.
Okay.
But what wonderful guy. You know, he actually said that they would do the migration to flip all of our accounts. We had like probably over 2,000 accounts at the time. And so they were going to basically do the migration. Yeah, they were going to do the migration for us from the advisor model to the CSP model, so we could bring all those accounts over to their tenant, you know, to have them house them for us. And so being a smaller company and not having, you know, I mean, our resources are dedicated to our clients. And so the greatest thing about that was that they did that migration for us. You know, they gave us an incentive, you know, which was even cooler. And their comp structure was higher than the other company that we had talked to. So
even better.
Since then, man, it has been like certainly one of our top 2 relationships in our company. You know, to help kind of fuel, really for, you know, to fuel the Office 365 growth. I mean, they're it. I mean, they've been really, really good. They've been a great partner for us, and you know, we've since then grown our tenant size to over 3,000 users now. So,
boy, well, stand up and take a bow, my friend, or maybe after we're done. Congratulations. Well, you've actually definitely kind of moved into the solution section. So you've answered a couple of my questions, but let me go one layer deeper. If you have any insights or observations on Sherweb Bill on Behalf, co-branded support, and then maybe use of the Sherweb portal. Any insights into that the listeners might like to know about?
Yeah, the portal was something that really kind of was excited about. I mean, I could just log in right now, and on the left-hand side it says like organizations. You click on the organizations, and then boom, like down, you know, inside of their portal, it'll tell you, you know, how many, you know, E1 accounts, how many E3 accounts. These are different category types for the Office 365 licenses, and so you know, you can see real time at any time, you know, what your clients have in terms of licensing, which actually makes it really easy to bill. They send us a data dump at the end of a month that we take and we import it into our CRM, which basically kicks out our bill. So it's very easy for us to administer. And to take that one step further, we've also started to look at some of their cloud offerings from a server perspective. And again, same thing. It goes right into their portal. I believe it's called Cumulus. It is just it's an awesome platform. All of our staff likes it. It's easy. You know, so that's been really, really good. But you know, again, their support has been great. I mean, they made that transition for us pretty seamlessly.
No, that's what we hear on this podcast series. You're our 3rd podcast, so full disclosure.
Okay.
And we're consistently hearing Sherweb support, Sherweb migration, the portal, etc. Do you do any co-branding? Let me circle back to that. Are you taking advantage of keeping your brand front and center in the eyes of your clients via some of the Sherweb interfaces and services and so on? I'm assuming, you know, your goal is to stay top of mind with your clients at every turn.
Yeah, I mean, we pretty much like, you know, we probably could take advantage of more branding opportunity or co-branding opportunities, but for the most part, I mean, everything that we do is, you know, is us. So we like to handle, you know, the end user. We live and die on that. I mean, we live and die on the fact that people call us every day and they have a problem. I mean, you know, fortunately, that's why we have jobs, right? That's why you have a company. 'Cause people have computer problems every day, unfortunately.
You know, I was just talking to a Seattle tech company recently, and I said, you know, darn it, we're only involved in conversations when there's problems. I'm waiting for the day when it's just all milk and honey and roses, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in this line of work, that's why you're here, is you're helping solve business problems. Let's move on to the final section. Again, you've actually made my job easier today. The final section is the results. And so let's talk about what the solution enabled you to achieve in terms of, I believe you talked about more sales. If I made my notes correctly, you went up to 3,000 accounts. Let's talk about better customer satisfaction. So I'm always interested in, you know, people that customer first. Some people use some of the CSAT survey methods, etc. How has this played out in terms of your customers and the satisfaction levels, to your knowledge?
I mean, just being on, like I said, being on the Microsoft platform for email has been, you know, tremendous. You know, in terms of like mobility. You know, some people had, you know, POP3 emails. Some people had on-premise Exchange. You know, the uptime has been, you know, tremendous. You know, and you ask people, you know, when does your email ever go down after you move to Office 365? The answer is, you know, practically never. And so, you know, just, you know, the support that we get as well, you know, from Sherweb, if we've got, you know, some crazy situation that we're dealing with, that they're very responsive. They're there around the clock. You know, they're always there to help us, kind of thing. And you know, it's been, like I said, it's been a good partnership. Yeah. So. Cool.
Last two questions, and then I'll let you get back and work with the paying customers. But what future opportunities are possible with this new solution? What I'm talking about is we're increasingly having more robust conversations concerning Azure. So, you know, Azure was a little bit of a slow starter down in the SMB MSP space. Quite frankly, I think we had to ask, you know, what is Azure, right? And I think we're answering that. So let's talk roadmap. Are you an Azure guy? You mentioned Microsoft Teams. Help give me some guidance on where you're headed.
Azure is certainly like a premium service. I mean, if you look at, you know, the price of other cloud servers out there versus Azure, you know, it's probably still the premium service that's out there today. But it's a good service. You know, one of the things that we're looking at in regards to Azure right now is that you can get, you know, kind of Active Directory, you know, kind of, you know, out in the cloud. And so you can buy that. You don't need to have like a server necessarily. It's just, you know, Azure, you know, Active Directory. And so what you can do with that is you can do, you know, if other applications are Azure compatible, you can have like single sign-on across multiple applications. And so currently we're in the process of building out a Teams site for our company using Microsoft Teams that uses really the SharePoint backend. And we're able to integrate kind of a number of different applications into that Teams site, you know, and be able to create teams and different channels, you know, for the teams to, you know, do, you know, communicate using like a chat, you know, all your files, all that, everything's kind of in one interface in a sense. So that's something that we're looking into now. You know, we always look at those things ourselves, test them out, implement them before we start offering them to our customers. So.
Final question in terms of next steps. And I like to put the spin on it. Where might listeners meet you? So what annual conferences do you frequent? For example, the former Microsoft Worldwide Partner Conference, now known as Inspire. Are there two or three conferences you frequent and people might bump into you?
Yeah, I mean, my partner and I, you know, sometimes we'll go to the Microsoft conferences. There was one in Chicago recently called Ignite. We went there to kind of, you know, figure out kind of what's going on. I also go to the MSP World, which is put on by the MSP Alliance. I find that to be a pretty good conference. They had a great guest speaker, Rob O'Neill, who was the the Navy SEAL that was responsible for killing Osama bin Laden.
Oh my, okay.
I got to see him speak actually last year. I got a whole new respect for our military in this country just by going to listen to him and hear what they went through, whatever. But that was an interesting one. So just I try to get around. I mean, certainly we're a Microsoft partner. Try to get out, and I like collaborating with other MSPs that are doing what we're doing because you learn really a tremendous amount.
Yeah, I agree. And that brings us full circle back to your advice for young people getting involved in IT and just starting out that way from day one. Well, Kevin, I want to thank you for being part of our new podcast series. So this is exciting. Yeah. And folks, this was brought to you by Sherweb, and Sherweb is making it possible for us to talk to thought leaders, have both personal and professional conversations. And hey, continue good luck not only in your business but with the foundation. Let us know how we can help out here at SMB Nation if there's ever a guest blog that tells your story, especially in the foundation. Jennifer Hallmark over in the radio control room would be happy to work with you on that.
That's great.
Kevin, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All righty, and folks, have a our podcast. Bye-bye.